Have a good day, everyone. I am Christine Taala, and today I will discuss the K-12 curriculum framework, specifically the components of the English curriculum. The language learning plays as essential role in the English curriculum, and especially in our lives as it helps in communication, considering the fact that it is the medium of communication. It is the main language for studying any subject all over the world. English is important for students as it broadens their minds, develops emotional skills, and improves the quality of life by providing job opportunities. So, I will discuss the component 1, which is the language learning process. In this component, it illustrates learning processes that will affect the acquisition and learning of the language. It also explains the how of the language learning and therefore serve as guiding principles for language teaching. It is the how of the language learning simply because it answers the question, how could I learn the English language effectively, or how could I learn the English language easily? In this component, there are 6 language learning or teaching principles that must serve as a guide for the language teachers for effective language acquisition and learning. It also explains the natural process of language development. The first one is the spiral progression. This will allow students to progress from foundational level to higher levels of language use. Skills, grammatical items, structures, and various types of text will be taught, revised, and revisited in increasing levels of difficulty and sophistication. Students learn to read in the early years of elementary school. The focus of reading curriculum in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade is usually teaching students the skills they need to independently and successfully read a text. After students are taught to read, they are then asked to read to learn new things. This is an example of the spiral curriculum. In reading, learning to read evolves into reading to learn. For example, students learn to identify a sequence of events when they are learning how to read. So, right, there are transformations involved. Just always remember that spiral progression is a kind of progress that is from simple to complex. The second one is the interaction. Language learning will be situated in the context of communication. Both oral and written activities or collaborative tasks that simulate real-life situations of varying language demands, which are the purposes, topics, and audiences will be employed to help students see a reason to use language in order to interact with others and thereby improve their socialization skills. An example of this is in our subject in PCQ 6, where our instructor told us to speak English when talking, discussing, or explaining. That's why we use the English language inside the classroom. Therefore, we may get used to it, and later on, we will not feel the awkwardness anymore. Another example is talking to someone who doesn't know how to speak Bisaya, Tagalog, or any native language we have, only the English language. So we have to adjust by communicating with him or her in English language. With that, we could be exposed to the language and later on, we could learn to speak it effectively. So in interaction, we could easily learn the English language, and this, I think, is the better way of learning since we might not just learn by exposure, but it is possible that we become fluent in speaking the English language. The third one is the integration. Integrating the skills allows students to build more variety into the lesson because the range of activities will be wider. Instead of just listening, the students can have speaking, reading, and writing practice or the 5 macro skills. For example, by practicing conversational skills, the learner can focus not only on speaking but also listening in order to reply and ask appropriate follow-up questions. The fourth one is the learner-centeredness. We all know what is this, right? Learners are the center of the teaching or the learning process. Teaching will be differentiated according to the students' needs, abilities, and interests. This uses interactive strategies to engage the students, to develop their abilities, and strengthen their language development. So in this principle, the teacher is the facilitator. Some examples of these activities include open debates, the writing of newspaper articles, field trips, student-chosen projects, presentations, and written reflections on learning. With that, the exposure to the language is higher, so the students will acquire the English language in a way that is natural and effective. Fifth is the contextualization. Learning tasks and activities will be designed for learners to acquire the language in authentic and meaningful context of use. For example, lessons will be planned around learning outcomes, a theme, or a type of text to help learners use related language skills, grammatical items, or structures, and of course the vocabulary appropriately in spoken and written language to suit the purpose, audience, context, and the culture. For example, students may be taught writing skills in the morning in an English subject and then expected to apply them to writing an essay in a history class in the afternoon. Last one is the construction. So, the construction says that making meaning is at the heart of language learning and use. So, it is called the heart since it is really essential to learning. When we say construction, you are the one finding ways to construct your own learning. So, that's why the learning tasks and activities will be designed for learners in such a way that they will have time to reflect on and respond to ideas and information. The best example of this is surprise essay writing. When I was in 7th grade, our teacher in English told us to make an essay and we didn't know how to start since we're still not knowledgeable enough. We didn't know the parts of an essay or how to write an essay, so with that experience, it was kind of hard for us, but we still learned something by finding ways on how to make an essay without knowing a lot of things about it. So that's construction. The teacher will let the student construct something on their own. That's all for my part. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've learned a lot from this lesson. Bye!